Welcome to Finance in the Clouds. Modern finance is broken, forcing finance and accounting teams to work like it's 1985, the year Excel was invented. Here, we talk about the struggles finance teams face in fast-growing companies and discuss how they can spend less time catching up and more time in the clouds. I'm your host, Jake Jones, multimedia producer and brand influencer here at Zone & Co., and I'm joined this week by Maxime Vermeir, Senior Director for Technology Marketing at ABBYY, one of our partners. Thanks for joining us today, Max.
Well, I'm very glad to be here, Jake. Absolutely.
As we continue talking about OCR invoice scanning, we brought our partners from ABBYY to discuss how artificial intelligence, machine learning, intelligent document processing, and OCR invoice scanning all work together to automate your invoice processing. Max, it's great to have you on the show. We're really excited to talk about ABBYY and talk about OCR invoice scanning and a little bit about intelligent document processing. But before we get into that topic, I want you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, then also tell us about ABBYY and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Again, I'm Max. I'm really glad to be here. And I'm the Senior Director for Technology Marketing. So again, thanks for inviting me over, Jake and Zone & Co. I've been with ABBYY for a couple of years now, about 7, having gone through an entire range of different roles and functions at the company, trying to get everybody out there to understand and evangelate really about what ABBYY does and how IDP, intelligent document processing, can really change people's lives. That's what I've been doing at ABBYY. So right now I'm responsible for technology marketing, which is really great because I'm pushing together with the rest of the company for us to continue to be a leader in the intelligent document processing space. So that's one thing definitely to know about ABBYY. We are leaders simply because we combine our innovation and experience to transform any kind of document, any kind of format, any language, anytime into actionable, intelligent outcomes for our customers so that they can actually focus on what's important to them and not have to deal with documents all the time. And it's for that reason that, amongst others, Gartner and 10 other actually analyst firms have named us leaders in this particular industry. So, having been around for more than 30 years, we have offices all over the world and large customers in the Fortune 500. And actually, if you count all of our customers, there's more than 10,000 of them. So we only have 20 minutes today, Jake, so I'm not going to count every single one of them, but there's a lot. We have a large partner network as well, which is why I'm very glad to be here again, working together with you on this podcast with Zone & Co.
Absolutely. We're so fortunate to have you guys as a partner. Started with Fast Forward to give just a little history. Of course, Fast Forward is now part of Zone. We're talking about this arc about OCR invoice scanning and how that whole process works. As I was talking with you, Max, ABBYY is not necessarily an OCR company. Your products play a huge role in how that process works. So let's start with intelligent document processing. Tell me what that is, and then how does that fit into OCR invoice scanning and that whole process?
That's really interesting. So actually, it's the other way around. How does OCR fit into the intelligent document processing world? The original technology was OCR, optical character recognition, building an engine that was able to guess from an image that was entirely unreadable by a computer on how to make that into actual data, going from that image over into actual data. So that's where it all started. Of course, usage for that is quite limited. And if you think back a couple of years when the whole conversation around AI began, everybody was like, oh, computer vision, it's new. No, it's not. Computer vision was invented in the 80s, even before I was born. It's been around for a while. And that's why if you look at IDP, so intelligent document processing, OCR is one of the things that you need to be able to do that. The intelligent document processing is about using, amongst other things, OCR intelligent models that actually are based on machine learning, AI as people today call it, and being able to make sense of the data inside of that document and turning that into actual information that can be used by the business and drives the business forward. So everything around IDP is having straight through processing, being able to take any kind of document you got, for example, in invoices where you have the actual AP process, where you have lots of information in those documents coming in and going out. That's where intelligent document processing takes you one level higher. Because it's great if you just do OCR. That gives you, instead of an image, gives you text, and that's it, right? And you still have to do something with it. That's where intelligent document processing takes it up a notch by adding several other technologies to make sure that you actually get the content from that piece of text that's important to you in this particular process, which makes all the difference. And ABBYY being, again, in the space for more than 30 years, we've seen it all. Complex line items, complex documents, different languages, over 200 languages that we support. All over the world, we actually able to process these documents, which makes a huge impact on our customers being able to have more than just the OCR, but actually being able to get the data that they need to forward that process and get high accuracy rates and get high throughput. That's what's important. For example, one of our customers that we have, they have yields as high as 90%, completely automatic throughput. Nobody's touching any invoices anymore, except for the exceptions, of course, because you still want to have that human interaction too. We're not letting the Terminator loose on your documents, not at all. You're in control, but it's actually helping you. And that you actually see it in the market too, that there's more and more about the assisted automation, right? So that's a term that's now being phrased quite a lot because people actually start seeing how AI and machine learning can help them instead of thinking that it's going to take away from what they do. No, it's going to assist you in what you do and allow you to focus on what's important and not so much on I would say, the repetitive work.
That's such a message we've heard in a couple of podcast episodes talking specifically about AI. And it's not that you want everything to be automated. It's not that you want, like you said, the Terminator loose on your documents and in your system. But if you can use AI smartly to assist you in the mundane, it gives you a lot more freedom and time to focus on other things. I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we go on, but how does AI fit into OCR invoice scanning and then again, intelligent document processing, how it fits into that picture?
The AI part, that's the technical jargon, right? So, AI it's the umbrella term for everything in terms of machine learning, computer vision. All of it serves a purpose in the sense that it's what we deliver is applied AI. So AI that you can actually use. Because if you look at pure AI, that's theory about it. That's the scientists that are inventing it. That's the mathematics. But what businesses are looking for is the applied AI that actually helps them move forward. Using OCR as one of the components, which is the computer vision, if you look at the AI umbrella term, and then having data models, being able to understand what is in that document, and then actually extracting the information, classifying the information, and giving you only the pieces that you need, allows you to have a solution that gets you up to 90% process in a few minutes, right? So especially in invoices, because it's such a use case that's out there, everybody has invoices. Sometimes I really think it's what makes our world work is just sending other people invoices. It's been done, it's been tested, it's been tried, and it's something that we love helping our customers with because it's very successful and it gives you really great ROI. One of our customers actually achieved a 91% reduction in invoice processing transaction costs. So I'm not talking about how fast can we go from this image that we originally started from to the data. No. The entire transaction cost went down by 91%. Simply because we added this automation in, we added the AI in. It's taking you up that level. So AI can really assist you in taking up your organization to a higher level and making sure that you can save both money and time together with our partners like Zone & Co.
Before we get too far away from this question, because it's such a hot topic right now, a lot of companies are showing interest in how can we use this? How can we take advantage of this? The kind of question that I always have in the back of my mind is how reliable is this AI? And I've heard you say 90%, 91%, that sort of thing a couple times now. How reliable is something like this for as far as invoice scanning and helping businesses reduce some of that mundane work?
It's a great question, right? So the reliability does depend a lot on the experience of the provider, I would say, of these kinds of technologies. What you see in the market is you see a lot of niche players focusing on a very tiny bit, one single language or one single kind of format. And then you get great results, just like with everything. If you focus really hard, then you get great results because that's the only thing you're working on. But that's not how businesses work. They get invoices from all across the world in all different kind of formats, in all different kind of languages. And that is what ABBYY specializes in specifically, making sure that we can cover that breadth. And that comes, like I said, both through our innovation and our experience. We've seen all of these different variations in a lot of different customers. In terms of reliability, as always, bad data in is bad data out. So a lot of these things in terms of quality, what you can expect at the end of it, does stem from the quality that you get in at the start of it. If we're talking about paper processes where you still get manual invoices or paper invoices, the scanning part is important to get that quality of the image so that you can actually get good data out. But in terms of the way that the machine learning, the AI has evolved over time, the techniques that are now being used, it's become much more redundant in the sense that it does not require strict parameters on how it can think about things. I used to compare it with when you're teaching a kid back in early days of school, you're teaching them to memorize things. But as you go higher and higher in education, you actually are not taught to memorize things, you're taught to reason. And that's how you can actually see the evolution of IDP technology, all AI technologies in general as well. They're starting to reason more and more. In the back, let's be honest, it's still a lot of rules, but if you have enough rules, enough parameters built in, it's starting to look a little bit more not memory, but actually reasoning that's happening. That's all we're doing in our own brains as well. So it's an interesting question, but I think, definitely we've been able to prove out that specifically, certainly for an AP process, invoice processing, you can get very high numbers. It's very reliable. But not to forget, again, we talked about the Terminator. There's no Terminator here. We're actually doing assisted AI. So that also means that even if it does get it wrong, you can give it feedback. You can provide feedback to our platform, to your platform, and actually say, well, you got this wrong. This is how you were supposed to do it. And it will incorporate that. It will continue to learn because nothing's perfect. And we're not saying that. Anybody that promises you 100% out of the box, don't believe them, because nothing is perfect, because it's still built by humans, right? It's important that you have that human in the loop factor too, for two reasons. One is what I just talked about, so you can continue to train and evolve it. But on the other hand, it's also for people that are working with it to see this is helping me. This is actually making my life easier. And for that, they actually sometimes just have to see how it works and what kind of benefits they can get from it, and to see that they still have control.
It's a great explanation, Max. And I really appreciate a lot of that perspective of, as you're taught as a child to memorize these numbers, memorize these letters. But then as you get older, you have to think about it. It's in the name, machine learning, right? The AI is going to learn with you. It's going to learn as you go. That human element is just always going to be a part of it, but it's how efficiently and how effectively can humans be working with this AI to really maximize what you're doing. From your perspective and from ABBYY's perspective, how can this OCR invoice scanning and intelligent document processing, how can that affect a business's outcomes and results?
Look at where we are in history right now, because I think it's important. What's currently happening in the markets, what's currently happening in the economy in the world, we've seen this before. But I think it's important that businesses realize what that means. The best way to learn from others' mistakes is to look at the past, see what happened. It may look a little bit different, but still there's a lot of repetition going on here. This is always the perfect time to actually go into elevating your business, looking at, okay, what can we do differently? What can we do to ensure that we can endure within this new world order? Make sure that we actually come out better at the other end. And for that, you need to have good insights into what your businesses are doing. And especially finance leaders need to elevate their conversation and thinking about what is really driving my team. What value is my team delivering? Is that entering data? Or is that thinking about our processes? Is that actually delivering the accounting? Is that giving insights to the business? I definitely think it's the latter. And actually, we saw that in some surveys. For example, the International Organization of Financial Managers survey in 2022 revealed that about 75% of accounts payable teams report processing more invoices than most recent quarters, up to 66%. And actually, that's interesting because what's happening right now, after COVID, everything opened up again. So that increased. Now we're going to see that this is going to fluctuate a little bit, but still our economy will always pull through. It always does. And everything's a cycle. So you might as well start getting prepared for that. Gartner suggests that by 2025, only 50% of B2B invoices will be processed without manual intervention. So that is where the world is going in any case. It's definitely something for, again, finance leaders to be thinking about, okay, what should our focus be? Is that doing the process, or is it about enhancing the process? And I think that's really important. Continuous improvement, better operating margins, investing in technology to gain new insights, right? Because we haven't talked about that part yet. If you only have your documents, it's really hard to get that information at a glance and actually make sense of it. If you have the data from it, that's an entirely different story. You can give much better insights. You have much better decision-making possibilities simply because you have access to the right information. I think there's a lot to think about why these types of technologies can really make a difference for a business, how they can use it to shift the company from looking at costs, how much does it cost, to actual profit. That's a huge difference.
When things are down, you got to prepare for that resurgence. Lots to think about there. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts, Max, on, we've been talking about how these programs can help you be efficient and take away some of the manual work so that, your team can focus on some other things. Obviously, that's a huge impact when your finance team can think about other ways to make your company money. You mentioned the data. This gives you a lot of data in a really easily digestible way. Talk about that a little bit. Like you said, we haven't really touched on, so I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that.
If you think about how things have started to evolve, it was only X many years ago that we put a man on the moon. If you had a curve of how technology evolved, it was like this, and then suddenly it's doing that, right? It's going up and up and up, and it's exponential, and it's Moore's law. It's as simple as that. Actually, we've already exceeded that law. But that also means that we, as humans, have to deal with so much more data because there's more and more information being added to the organizations. All of it is structured, right? So I wish that we were still in the time and age where everything in a computer was structured and it was easy to find. The rooms might have been filled with mainframes, but still, it was pretty clear as to how it worked and what it did and what data was there. Today, everything is almost unstructured. If you think about it, it's one less thing to worry about if you are able to very quickly get the right insights from your data inside of documents. And again, we're talking about, the AP flow right now, invoices, really important, very quick for the ROI, very great for businesses to start looking at that. But then you can start to evolve, right? And just having that data, even if we are just talking about finance, having those insights is going to be a lot better than not having them. That's pretty obvious. Just being able to gain those insights from your data that you have anyway, you're just making it accessible. That's a huge step up from any of your competitors, I would say, that are not looking at it that way. Yes, there's your process that you have to do. Yes, there's regulatory implementation that you have to follow. But then you can get to work on looking at, okay, what are my vendors doing? How are they working? When am I receiving their invoices? Is there some cost saving I can do? Is there actually maybe some revenue that I can start generating? Because I can go back to the business and say, well, if you can do this kind of deal differently, well, then we're actually going to get better discounts. These are all things that you can only do and only see if you have access to the data. So that's why it's ever important to make sense of all this information that's coming towards us using AI, again, to help us get those insights, make those decisions, and put it to good work.
To that point as well, you have to have all this information, but then you have to have the time to actually really pour over it and think about it. Everybody's just trying to get by. Everybody's just trying to get to a successful sale. But what you may notice when you have access to all this data, and again, time to really pour over it, you might be seeing problems that you didn't see before that you can find solutions for, make the process easier, more efficient. It's just kind of a big cycle, putting human eyes on the big problems and then letting the assisted AI take all the stuff that you've already figured out the process. It's just a matter of getting it done. A lot of great conversation we've had here today, Max. And before we go, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or share or bring up about either intelligent document processing or OCR invoice scanning?
It's an amazing and exciting world out there around OCR and especially intelligent document processing. Maybe just from my end, I would say use it as a great first use case for intelligent document processing. AP invoices, no brainer. The ROI is incredibly high, as you guys know as well. But then you can really get to work because you've already made back that investment. Then you can really get to work on everything else within the organization because there's so much more out there. There's documents coming at us from every single angle. And there's incredible amounts of useful data locked away in them that right now businesses simply don't have access to. So let's get to work.
Well, Max, we've had a great conversation all about OCR, invoice scanning, and intelligent document processing, what it can do for your business, how it fits into your work process, how it can not only simplify your process and automate a lot of your process, but it can give you a lot of data to really let you look over it, pour over that data, and make improvements for your business. A lot of really good conversation. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Max and Abby. We're really happy to have you guys as a partner, and lucky and fortunate to have you guys as a partner.
It was really great to be here, Jake. So thanks again for inviting us. I think it was great conversation. I hope your readers and listeners and viewers are all going to find it interesting too. Feel free to reach out and find me on LinkedIn, or just come over to the ABBYY website, the Zone & Co website. There's lots more to explore. I definitely hope to come back to your podcast, Jake, because it was a lot of fun.
We want to hear from you. How has your business been positively impacted by intelligent document processes?
Let us know by emailing hello@zoneandco.com. Finance in the Clouds posts bi-weekly on Fridays. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to Finance in the Clouds wherever you get your podcasts, or watch us on YouTube on the Zone & Co YouTube channel. Also be on the lookout for articles and guides all about today's topic at zoneandco.com. We will see you next time.